Hello, thank you for taking the time to watch this video on strategies for staff retention. We know one of the major challenges for administrators in early childhood education settings is finding and maintaining quality staff members to care for children on a day-to-day basis. When someone leaves your center, it affects both you and your time commitment and job responsibilities, and also the financial resources of your center. It takes time and money to advertise, to interview and then hire and train a new employee once someone has left. Not only this, but it can impact the morale of your center if employees had a good relationship with their former coworker. And if we consider the children, if they had a strong attachment with that previous employee, it's going to be a challenge when they adapt to a new staff member stepping into that role. We also know that one of the main reasons that teachers leave is finances. Most centers cannot pay teachers, teachers' assistants, administrators the value that they deserve as far as salary. It may feel like your role doesn't matter, isn't seen when you look at your paycheck, but that's simply not true. Early childhood educators are having a huge impact on young lives, and that time in early childhood is very important. And as much as you may want to pay your teachers more, you might not have those resources. So, here are a few ideas for getting creative on what you can do. One thing is staff care. Um, Simple things of making sure that your staff know that they are valued, that they're seen, and that they can have needs met, and that they are humans, and it's okay to have a rough day because there's support there at your center. So, starting with ability to have basic needs met and to take a break when needed. So, if your staff member is having a rough day, maybe there's some things going on at home or outside, and or maybe they've been dealing with some challenging behaviors. Do you have someone that can give them a 5-minute break for them just to walk, to get a drink, to go to the bathroom? Sometimes we don't even consider that being in a classroom with children all day, teachers don't even have the luxury of going and getting a bathroom break if needed. Those things are really important, and having that opportunity can help your staff feel acknowledged and cared for. It's also important to check in on them throughout the day. Not that you're suspecting that they're not doing their job, but that you're just being present, that you're stopping in to say hi, you're getting a feel of what the classroom is like, the behaviors and the personalities of the students in the room. And it allows the teacher to know that you're there for them. It also gives you more opportunity just to chat with your coworkers and the people that report to you so that you can get to know them as a person and the things that they like. We want to acknowledge staff contributions as well. At my agency, we use what's called Rockies. So it's a slip of paper that allows somebody to acknowledge somebody else for a contribution that they have had that affects another person in a positive way. So if someone takes on some extra job responsibilities to ease the load of somebody else, they could write a Rocky and so on. I mean, there's many things, and it doesn't just have to come from administrators. The nice thing about those is that any employee can do them for anyone else. And you want to find what works for your center or your school, um, and it doesn't always have to come from you. The ideas, it can be your team coming up with something that's going to be meaningful for them. But how are you going to acknowledge each other? Also, it's really important when those challenging behaviors come up that your staff feel supported. We mentioned breaks earlier, but particularly with challenging behaviors, do they have a minute to just regroup? Because if they're going back in and staying in a room and they're at a heightened state because they've just dealt with this big behavior, it's going to be challenging to then regulate the class the rest of the day. It's more likely if the teacher is heightened that the rest of the children will be heightened. So not only does it help the staff member feel supported, but it helps with the whole management of the classroom if the teacher can regulate first. Same with difficult conversations with families. If you have to address a child's behavior and go to the parents, that's a hard conversation to have. No parent wants to hear that their child is struggling, and what teacher really wants to talk to those parents about that either? So Are you able to be present in those meetings? Even if you're not, then can you talk to the staff and check in on them afterwards or help prepare them for those meetings? Making sure that they know that you're there for them in those hard times. We can also celebrate big milestones like birthdays, births, graduations, career anniversaries, um, anything that you can do to let a person know that you see them, that they're valued more than just they're a body in a classroom that is fulfilling a need so that you can run the center. They're a person. They have a life outside of work and it matters. And this doesn't have to be you remembering all these things. Do you have a staff member that is a planner that loves to celebrate? Do they want to take on decorating for birthdays or doing cards? Um, Spread the resources and the responsibilities so that it includes your team as well. And lastly, for this slide, consider little things too. Even if the budget is really tight, where is there room maybe even for a nice lotion or soap in the bathroom? One of my coworkers used to work at a daycare center, and her administration put hair ties in the bathroom. Something very small and inexpensive, but not only does she remember it years later, but it was meaningful because it was a little touch that her administration did to just care for their staff. Treats in the break room. We know that if we want to engage parents in, an activity or want them to attend a meeting, we provide food. Well, it's another way to engage staff and make them feel valued and cared for is just to have some treats on occasion in the break room, whether it be candy or fruit, something different and just an extra treat for them. And if you can, is there a day that you could provide a meal for them, maybe a main dish or, just pay for a delivery? And with COVID restrictions lifting, could you do a potluck and everybody bring something, but you maybe provide the main thing? So, those are some ideas for staff care. Beyond that, we can also look at creating an engaged team. Because if your team feels like they are a part of your organization, that they have a say in some decisions that are being made, they're more likely to stay because they have the buy-in at your center. So talking about your mission and vision for the center, and for one, do your staff know what it is, and do they have buy-in with that? Um, and do they have any opinions about how that mission and vision can be carried out? And also, you can have as much transparency as possible from leadership and from administration. If you have even administrators above you, what can you communicate from your level? Obviously, you can't always share information with staff, but what can you share? As much as possible, if you're able to be open about some of the things that are going on in the direction that your center is going in, that can put staff at ease and again feel like they are a part of things at your center. Where are there opportunities for staff to use their individual interests and talents? So, is someone good at playing an instrument? Could they come in and play that in your classrooms? Or does someone have a different cultural experience? Could they share about that with the children? What is important to your staff members and allowing them to contribute and have a say in, amongst their employees, of other coworkers and the employees in the agency, and also with the children in the classroom as well. So considering too with just the active engaged team, having a voice is really important, especially with younger generations. Gen Z and millennials are all the more concerned about what their voice and having a meaningful role in a center. So even if it's little things about maybe what field trips you take, um, or what things you will celebrate this year, how you'll celebrate them, asking staff opinions and maybe assigning responsibilities to your staff. Lastly, for this slide, um, our staff Do staff know their value beyond just their teacher and they're coming in and they're in the classroom on a day to day? Do they see how they are playing into the big mission and vision of your center? And it kind of goes back to the previous slide of acknowledging staff's contributions and how they play into the bigger picture. Another area that you can look at is career development. It may seem that you're a small center and there's not really anywhere to go, but a lot of times, centers will hire younger staff in maybe their high school students or college students helping out in the summer or whatnot. And even if they're more advanced in their careers, where do they want to go? Do you know that? Have you asked your team what they hope for, where they would like to see? If they come in as a teaching assistant, do they want to be a lead teacher one day? Do they want to move into administration? Could there be a day where they shadow you and learn more of what you do? Getting creative and looking at where are the opportunities to learn and grow. Do they want to gain an extra certification? There are many webinars out right now. One of the great things that came out of COVID was there are just so many more webinars and ways to get training. Um, can you refer them and share those resources with your staff members so that they can build their skills? If you have a staff member who has just really shown great skill and has been with your center for a while now, is there opportunity and interest for them to mentor some of those new employees coming in? That's a way to just acknowledge that, um, that they have shown skill and ability in their role and that they are able to train somebody else. Um, and then lastly, you can do what's called stay interviews. So we do interviews when we're hiring and we ask them, for qualifications and whatnot. And some companies will even do exit interviews. And so you're finding out why someone's leaving. But at that point, it's too late. Someone's already exiting your center agency. But do we do anything in between? So a stay interview looks at why someone has chosen to stay. So you set up a time with your employee, and it's a time for you just to discuss what's going well, what they value about their role, what they would like to see happen, um, and give them a chance to have a voice. And you would want to explain to your employee, especially if this is a new thing that you're establishing, why you are doing this and what it is. And they're not in trouble. You're not trying to weed them out or anything. You're just establishing what they're valuing in their career, maybe what direction they want to take in their career. You'd want to keep these fairly short, less than 10 questions. One thing to consider to avoid during say interviews is finances. Because if we ask someone if they would like to make more, if they're satisfied with their current salary, most people are going to say no, that they're not. They would like to make more. But if you don't have any ability to adjust their salary, then that's not going to be anything productive in that conversation. What you would want to focus on are maybe some things that could be changed or improved, or just simply establishing what is going well. We can also get creative with benefits. We've established and we all know that there's only so many financial resources for centers. So centers don't always have the ability to pay their staff more. But are there other things that they can offer that would be intriguing for a new hire? So, flexibility is one thing that's really important for some people. Not always having to work a set schedule from 9 to 5 or 6 to 3, whatever it may be. Is there room that they could have flexibility, especially if you're hiring some younger employees that maybe have school schedules to work around? Are you able to work with them? Um, Also, we have mentioned food, simple thing that you can provide, and just having, you know, a day where there's an extra treat that they're acknowledged. Another benefit that may be considered is merchandise. So, like a shirt like this that's there, or one that's branded for your center. Not only is it something that we can offer to staff, but then it can be something that they carry out with them, maybe when they're at the grocery store or They're wearing it out in the community, so that gives representation to your school or center, and gives awareness to your location. But it's also something that, it's a little extra something that maybe not won't cost that much, but you can provide to your teachers. And if budget is really tight, consider how you could come together and maybe make them yourself. We recently did an activity as a team with our prevention team that we made our own shirts. Someone had a Cricut machine, and so we made them and had them cut out, and then we ironed them onto shirts. So that was a way to really reduce cost, but we still have some shirts that look similar, and was a fun activity for us to do together. So all this is to say that there are many benefits that come when we can maintain quality staff and support those staff members. For one thing, staff are feel more supported and enjoy their jobs more, and so that they can come in every day and be better prepared to invest into the young lives that they serve on a day-to-day basis. And when staff are at their best, they can then pour into children, and then children benefit from that attachment with that caring adult and that engagement from that adult. So we looked at several resources when putting this together. One was a early childhood and investigators webinar that you can see there. And then also the Child Research Net, which looked at some of the main reasons why there is such high turnover in early education. And for more resources on social emotional development for children and resources for staff, you can go to our YouTube channel. We now have close to 200 videos, or you can find us on Facebook. We're regularly updating content there, with some great visuals and links. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found a couple creative solutions for staff retention.